And we are live.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of MovieCast. I am once again your host, Dana, and I am joined by the effervescent Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. How are you doing this evening?
Doing pretty good, Dana. And thank all the listeners and viewers for checking out our content. Looking forward to getting into these discussions tonight.
Wonderful. I am also joined by Mr. Big Mike. Mr. Big Mike, how are you doing? Are you feeling big and mighty?
I'm feeling fabulous, Dana. Thank you for having me here.
You are very welcome. Tonight is going to be a very simple episode. We are diving into a review of Batwoman, CW's Batwoman, I was able to see in advance, and It Chapter 2, which we have all was able to see and probably have a lot of mixed emotions from that movie, which is the duology of the It's. So, diving right in, this during the weekend over a very long nose or cross. Also, and when we first saw her, she was already doing her Batwoman thing. She had the matte black suit, she had the terrible flaming red wig on, she had the lipstick, and she was Batwoman. And she seemed to already be in her element, and people already kind of knew who she was. Well, this one, the series is more like an origin-ish type story. So it dives right in. The very first scene is what we're going to see is Kate Kane, she's training. And she's doing a lot of underwater training where she has to go and find the key to, she's all chained up, so she has to find the key to all her locks. And she has to do that within a very short time period or so she'll drown. And there's different obstacles and different elements that's thrown right there in her whole pack, in her track. And of course she survives, and because she's all this huge badass woman and she can do anything that she wants to. Well, show itself, it seems to really take a lot of with introducing us to the world of Gotham and also to the world of the Wayne family. It places her as she is the niece of Batman, and Batman has been for quite a while now. It's been 3 years, and so the city of Gotham has to come together and come to this realization that Batman is no longer there to save the city. And as a result, they decided that they're going to do away with the bat signal. Because why else would they have this bat signal if Batman has basically abandoned them and hasn't given any reason at all? Neither to his friends, his family, no one. He's just up and bounced. During this, it seems to be like a big charity event that's happening, and we're introduced to this new villain named Alice, who's kind of like, from Alice in Wonderland, and she speaks in a lot of quotes from Lewis Carroll's books. She also has a lot of henchmen, and they wear their little rabbit mask, and, it looks, again, very much something like Alice in Wonderland. So, Kate Keene, she is basically on the scene. She's doing her little surveillance thing like she always does, and she's kind of discovering that this Alice woman plans to not only attack the charity event, but maybe wants to kill a lot of people while doing this, and we're not exactly know why. We know that Alice has a grudge with the Gotham police, but we don't exactly know the level of the problems that's going on. Again, this is just an introductory to everything that's happening. But what we do know is told through a lot of flashbacks, and it's told through Kate, basically. So we know that from Kate's point of view, that it gives the whole backstory of how she aborted her military training because she is a lesbian, and they discovered that she was having an affair with Sophie. And Sophie then went on she broke up the relationship because she just couldn't deal with, she wanted to be out with Kate, but she really couldn't physically deal with the repercussions and the stigma that would also bring along with it. So we learned through that, and we also learned that had a huge accident when she was a child. She was her mother, her sister. They were all in a car together, and it veered off the road, and Batman was trying to save them. And he thought that he was able to save them, but apparently that wasn't the case, because the car ended up falling into the water and everyone drowned except for Kate Kane. Is hand in hand into Alice's story. So this is how everyone is connected through that. We don't exactly know the full-blown relationship between the two, but they are connected through this accident, which is why Alice has such this huge grudge over Batman, and her kind of like this hatred for Batman, and her hatred for this Kate Kane woman that we don't really know what's going on with. So see, it deals a lot with Kate Kane trying to forge this life for herself, but also at the same time trying to not forget her past and how it intersects with Bruce Wayne. So Kate Kane is the cousin of Bruce Wayne. Discovers that the family has a lot of secrets that it's been going through, and she doesn't fully understand what's going on. In this whole hour period, the show very much feels like a much darker version of Arrow. There's very well shot action sequences. There's great fights, not in the realm of sorry. As great as, say, like something from Marvel's exactly something that's on the line of, say, Marvel's Daredevil, but it is much better than, say, Marvel's Iron Fist. It's a step below Arrow when it comes to the fight sequences. The cinematography is very beautiful, though. Even though it is dark, it's kind of like that dark Gotham theme that they keep going with. It's much brighter than, say, the Zack Snyder Batman movies. The main issue that I have with this series, and I've had this for a while, I kind of called it out if you ever looked at the trailers, is the fact that Ruby Rose is a very stiff actress. She is someone who is very easy to portray the cool girl, you know, the silent cool girl type of image. But once she starts to talk and once she has to show emotion, it's where the show completely goes downhill. I feel that they could have cast someone else. She just really does not know how to emote. There are different scenes that require her to have different emotions. There is a scene where she's trying to find out who exactly is Bruce Wayne, and she comes to the realization of who Bruce Wayne really is. And that line that she has is kind of delivered with the same energy as like you getting up in the morning to just realizing, oh, I have to go to work today. It's not exactly something that's impactful. When it comes to her being sad, she just stares. When it comes to her kind of being happy or her missing someone, again, she just stares. She doesn't really give any type of to her lines. They're all, everything is said in this kind of monotone way. And what really is sad is that the show itself, aside from Ruby Rose, works really well. Everyone else has this really great chemistry with each other. There is an actor who ends up playing Luke Fox. He's kind of like the funny sidekick, and he's really great in his role. The actress who plays Alice, she's fun and whimsical in like that sick kind of way, but it all seems to work. There's so many different people. There's an actress who plays Sophie, who was previously Batwoman's love interest in her past, where she is now a detective, and she works really great with everyone but Ruby Rose, and that is the biggest problem that this show has, and it's kind of hard to really want to take a deep dive into this world that they created, because it's not a bad world. It's a pretty interesting story. It's full of a lot of twists. If you read the comic books, then you're going to kind of already know what the twists are and how everyone ends up being related. But it tries its best with the source material that it's given to really create a good story. Again, it's just her acting takes you out of that fantasy world, and it kind of gets to the point where it's grating. So I say watch it. Maybe I only seen the pilot episode. So again, this could improve as the episodes progress. I had a lot of problems with Supergirl at first, but now it's one of those really great shows. The Orville's pilot episode was complete trash, and that's one of the best shows that was on TV. So watch it, but don't be surprised if you end up falling asleep. About that.
Ouch.
Semi-ouch. I mean, crossover episode, she really didn't have that much kind of feeling when you saw her. And there were cute little moments where you see the dynamic between her and Supergirl, and her kind of like, hitting on Supergirl, and that was kind of really nice and sweet and even cute. But with this, it's just like, I'm gonna take you down, bad guys. My family is dead. That kind of same level of deliverance.
There's one question I definitely want to ask. That is, does this show, obviously it's hard to tell this because this is only the pilot, is this show more tolerable to watch than Gotham was?
Here's the thing. I may be like the only person in the world who thought Gotham was tolerable. Granted, I stopped watching, but I was still the only person who kind of thought it was good. And that's only because there were so many different casts, and they all have their own different personalities, and there's multiple stories going on. Maybe that's again why the show was just a little bit too much for me. But in the midst of that, you had these different personalities, you had these multiple storylines that's going on, and this seems, again, it seems to be a really straightforward show.
Okay.
Characters who I'm most interested in would end up being Luke Fox, who is the son of Lucius Fox. He seems just to be really cool. Again, it feels very similar to previous characters that we've seen in the Arrowverse, where the show kind of fails. When it comes to Gotham had a better feeling to it, and I think that even though it's just a pilot episode, that Batwoman seems more dead inside. It fights for its life, but it's still dead inside.
Well, I'm sure that Big Mike is not going to like to hear that, because I heard he was very much looking forward to this show.
I was actually looking forward to this. I mean, I'm not a big Arrow fan, but I was looking forward to this because I like Flash and Supergirl. I'm not a big, Legend of Tomorrow fan either, but yeah, I was looking forward to this because I like the comics of Batwoman.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're someone who likes the comic books, it seems to be really faithful to what's going on. It's this one here, it's a little bit bumpy in the first episode because you have to get, Batwoman is dealing with a lot. There's that you have to deal with. It's the fact that it's Batwoman and not Batman, and everyone is expecting for Batman to show up, but instead it's a woman. So it's kind of like carving your own identity, stepping out of your family's shadow of the whole Batman situation, and then also kind of stepping out of a role that was originated by a man. So her, really trying to tell the world that I'm a woman. This is what I can do as a woman. It deals with a lot of different themes. Also, it has another subplot of, she's gay and family rejection because of that. Also dealing with Sophie and her, having this relationship with Kate Kane in the beginning, and how she's handling what it is to be gay, and her kind of like fear of that being exposed. But at the very same time, there is a scene that's just so darn corny that it takes you out of not just like the seriousness of what's going on. It takes you out of the story. It's very unbalanced. But again, this could improve because we had shows, the pilot episode that was just really terrible. But there's always seems to be that there's always that presence of Batman looming over.
Sounds
All right.
sounds interesting. So when does the show debut on CW?
So the show actually comes on October 6th.
There you go.
Everything.
Something to look forward to.
And again, just because the pilot episode sucked doesn't mean the other ones won't suck. But like, I just really hope between episode 1 and 2, Ruby got those acting lessons, because it's painful. Painful. God.
I'll give her like 5 episodes. See if she gets it together.
See, you did much better than what the other people in the audience were gonna do. So that's a plus. Yeah. So moving on, we're gonna talk about It Chapter 2. I'm pretty sure we all have our different mixed emotions and opinions about it. Anyone excited? Hated it? Jump right on in.
So
I liked it for what it was, and I thought it had some good spooky scenes. Like I was telling Rich earlier, I think it could have been a little shorter. It was long. I mean, they could have cut like maybe 30, maybe 40 minutes out of it, because I mean, it was all right, but it was kind of long. I did have some jump scares. I thought it was pretty cool. I was like, hey, that's cool. But I mean, that was me. But I recommend people seeing it if you want to go see it.
Those are some pretty good thoughts. As for what I thought about It Chapter 2, I agree 120% with Mike. I think that it was way too long. When I initially heard about how long the movie was, because I know they announced this a while back, I thought to myself, there was part of me that was excited when I heard it, because I figured, okay, well, maybe they have a lot of material to work from, which is why it was going to be a lot longer. But then when I actually saw the movie, I was like, man, there's a lot of stuff that they could have taken out. And essentially, when they had a lot of those flashbacks to when the characters were kids and they had additional encounters with it, some of that is a perfect example of something that probably should have been in the first movie. But again, I understand that they wanted that the characters forgot certain moments, which is the whole point of why they had to come back together again to remember what happened that summer when they had their encounter with it. So I understand that, but I still think it was way too long. I would have made it a little bit shorter, maybe 30, 40 minutes shorter, as Mike said. So yeah, that's one criticism. As for the jump scares, some of them were good. However, the scene with Bev, we essentially saw that whole scene when they released that trailer. And I know I've said multiple times on this show that I understand the trailers are put out there to sell the movie, but I don't like when you see too much of the trailer, because then it gives you an impression of what to expect with the movie. So when I saw her scene, I was like, I wasn't really surprised. Only when they actually showed the actual reveal of the creature itself. But how that played out, I was not surprised, because I already saw that. And the majority of the people who saw the movie when I went to go see it in the same theater, they already knew about their whole scene, so there wasn't really any surprises with that particular scene. But other stuff they had in there, yeah, it was decent in terms of the jump scares. And the last point I will make before we go on back to some other questions that I'm sure Dana will ask. Would I recommend somebody go see this movie? Well, that's a tough one for me. I mean, I think if you enjoyed the first movie, then you should go see it so that you can get closure in terms of seeing the story through from beginning to end. But if you are expecting this to be a fantastic horror film, I would say no. I would not recommend you see it. But hey, it's still a fun time. It's still a entertaining time. So the choice is ultimately up to you.
Yeah, I totally agree. It was a fun movie.
Yeah,
so I had fun with it. It was, but yeah, it could have been 30, 40 minutes shorter.
Well, Chapter 2 it ended up being 3.5 hours long, which is half an hour longer than Endgame. So that is a lot. But what I did appreciate is the fact that it started off right after the first it left off. And now it seems to tell a story of the seven who are adults, and they have to suppress their traumatic memories from the whole situation that happened in Derry, Maine. Seems like everyone is just a completely extensive and over-the-top version of themselves now. Bill, who is now played by Jay McAvoy, ended up being a successful writer who, he was the one who was stuttering when he was a kid. Richie, who was hilarious, played by Bill Hader. I thought that they did a really great job for like one character. He's now a stand-up comedian. Helps with the whole final battle, which is a hot mess in itself. This, however, is really different from what was originally in the book, and it's also different from the miniseries. Beverly, who is now played by Jessica Chastain, she ends up being a fashion designer who is now in a physically and sexually abusive relationship with her marriage, which kind of seemed to make the most sense, especially due to the fact that her father was beating and raping her in the first movie. Eddie, who is now played by James Ranson, is a risk assessor who suffers from hypochondria and still has the overbearing mother. That I thought was a really great connection and hilarious. Ben, who's now played by Jay Ryan, is a wealthy architect. He was the guy who used to be really fat, who now came out to be like really lovely and attractive. Mike, the black guy, who played the black kid, who is played now by Isaiah Mustafa. He is now the town librarian who suffered from his family. I remember was the one who burned up during the whole scene with the warehouse and them being butchers. I know a lot of the family ended up suffering from drug abuse, and he struggles with it himself. Stanley, who's now played by Andy Bean, he was the one who was always scared and weakened as a kid, and it seems to be the very same thing as an adult. I thought that they did a really great job kind of connecting the childhood to adulthood and how it affected them now as an adult. Even I believe they even focused on Henry, who ended up going to prison after he murdered his father. I thought that was a really great way to acknowledge that character, because I didn't, I don't remember what ended up happening to him in the movie or in the book. But in this version, it's nice to see that, he went to prison for that. Um, about that part. Um, but it was the fact that I had a problem with the most was with Pennywise himself. They kind of changed the motive. I remember in the book and also in the miniseries, um, the goal was for Pennywise to get them back into Derry, was because he kind of hated the fact that they got away, and he was very angry about that, and he, wanted to get them back for that. And I believe in the movie, um, it was slightly different. He wanted them to come back so he could. He was like, he was tempted, and he was never, because he never was able to kill them. He always desired them again. So they kind of flipped around the motive of Pennywise, which was just slightly odd. Um, have made sense. Also, the bond that, remember, everyone had in the book originally, they sealed their bond with an orgy. Also, as with the cutting, but with the orgy as well. In this movie, they cut out the orgy, which is very important that they did do that. And they had that whole blood bond thing. Remember when they cut themselves at the end of chapter 1? So I felt that that was really great and impactful. However, this movie, I felt that it could have been really well done, but felt a little sloppy. I felt in the first movie, the jump scares were really efficient, and I felt that it helped to tell the story. Remember the huge projector room scene when Pennywise was coming out of the whole projector when they was in like the garage or something? I thought that was very well done. With this one, I kind of feel that it relied way too much on the jump scares, and I felt a lot of it kind of felt unnecessary about using that. And so when Pennywise finally did come, it just didn't have that exact same impact as what it could have been. Kind of felt that Pennywise could have killed a lot more people, but he just didn't. Like the fact that, it, though it was over with too much, the scares that did worked really well. I did like that aspect. The fact that, they developed the characters very well. Even though it ran way too long, they were developed characters. Bill Skarsgård, who played Pennywise, again, I thought he was phenomenal. And I know he recently said in an interview, if they ever want to make any more Pennywise movies or have an origin story, he would love to come back, and I would love to see him as Pennywise. So I felt that he did a very excellent job there. My huge problem with it was the ending. I thought it was kind of really corny. The fact that he was essentially roasted to death. It was like they just clowned him to death, and I just did not like that at all. I thought it was just really corny and a cop-out. So, other than that, really out of my element. I thought it was a really decent movie. And I liked it.
I just would like to say that I agree 100% with you on that ending, because, again, when they said this movie was going to be as long, I'm thinking, okay, so this is going to build up to a final battle that is a huge spectacle. But to see how they took him out, man, that was disappointing. And the funny thing about it is that as I was sitting in the theater watching this, I was looking and listening to the reactions of everybody around me. A lot of people did not like that. So I understand, you show Pennywise, we're not afraid of you. Okay, I understand that. But I mean that they probably could have done that a better way in terms of how they actually took him out. And I do agree that what you said about the jump scares in the first film, definitely a lot better, because I remember that projector one. That was actually a scene where I actually jumped up in the theater like, whoa, whoa. Okay, yeah, that got me. So definitely was better than the first movie. Not so much not as effective in the second one, but yeah, still I guess we could still definitely say a decent film. One other quick thing I want to say though before, because I'm pretty sure Mike is going to have a couple other things he wants to say. I also enjoyed the casting. Um, I agree 100%. Bill Hader was the best character of all of the characters that they in terms of what they did. Of course, they made a change to his character, which I'm not going to spoil for those that still haven't seen the movie. But yeah, I thought that was the best character in terms of what they did with that character. As far as lining up with the actual kid actor, so on and so forth, and then even the other people who they brought on that played some of the other characters. That yeah, I think they did an excellent job with the casting. So I didn't have any problems with that. But yeah, I definitely would have made the movie a lot less time wise and strengthened some of the elements of it in terms of the scares and how you actually take out Pennywise. But other than that, yeah, I agree. For those that saw the first film and they want some closure on the story, well, they definitely should see the second film. But they should also go into that film knowing that there is some stuff they might not like. But hey, this is part of finishing the story, so this is something that you decide to do when you make the decision to go see it. So it is what it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree. And, they left out a lot of stuff that could have easily made this story a bit more sillier. There was they included Chud, which, okay, that was kind of important. I'm happy that they didn't include the turtle directly. The turtle has been involved in the movie since Chapter 1, and that was just in the form of a toy turtle, where it kind of made references to the turtle. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, the world was created when a turtle essentially just basically coughed up the world. It had a sore throat, it coughed it up, and it also created Pennywise, which Pennywise was created by the deadlights, by the way, which is kind of explained much better than how I'm explaining it in the movie. So they did do a great job explaining that, because in the book version and in the original one that starred oh gosh, my head just went boom. I forgot who played Pennywise in the Tim Curry. So in the Tim Curry adaptation, they didn't really fully explain the deadlights, but it was really important that they did include that. So I was happy with included that whole backstory and the lore behind that. And I was also very happy that they did not include the turtle part, because it gets a lot convoluted. I love Stephen King, but Stephen King has a tendency to just ramble with his books, and he does not know how to end it. So when it came to the Pennywise scene and how they're able to defeat Pennywise, which is ridiculous, it felt like it was definitely, something that Stephen King put his stamp on, because again, Stephen King doesn't know how to have that impactful type of ending, and I really wish that it had something that was a wee bit more meaningful. And I guess there is a letter that is being read at the very end that we get, and that kind of him explaining why he did what he did. If you have not seen the book, but him explaining why he did what he did, I felt that was really good. But overall, the movie just didn't really have that kind of impact that the first movie had for me. Like, there were elements from the first movie where I'm like, I could still become scared just thinking about, and there were very small moments with this film.
I agree 100%. There's a quick question I wanted to ask. With that final scene, what you just mentioned about that letter, I'm pretty sure the original book was probably the same as far as what happens with that character. But I have to ask a question for you and Mike. Do you understand why that character had to do it? Because
Yeah.
what I didn't understand is obviously Pennywise wasn't threatening the character far away from where he was living, so I was a little confused about why he still had to take that approach. But that's just my question to both you and Mike.
Because the group overall, he felt that he would end up holding the entire group back.
Okay.
The group to continue with that bond and to not think about him so that they can be focused, he had to do what he did.
Okay. That sounds good to me. So Mike, you have any other thoughts on the films you want to share?
Well, my thoughts is like what we both kind of said on and touched on. The ending was kind of corny. And maybe could have used a little more meat, or if you know what I mean. And the whole orgy scene, I think it should have been in there.
Uh-oh.
That's just me.
Whoa.
I mean, cannot have a bunch of underage children having orgies.
I mean, it's an R-rated movie.
No, not that R. It's an R.
Not that hard. It's not the hard R.
It's not the hard R. It's just an R, not an R. You want R.
I guess I wanted the R.
You wanted R. No children. Oh my goodness.
Well, I will say this. At least we do know that if that scene was in that movie, one person that absolutely would love to see that scene, R. Kelly. So it would be definitely catered towards him, but no, there was no way in hell that they were going to put that in there, because I could just think that is the only, I feel if they put that in that movie, that is the only thing people would talk about. They wouldn't even care anything else about what happened, and there would be some controversy behind all of that. So it's a good decision not to put it in there for the sake of those that might not be able to handle all of that.
I'm just saying, if they put it in there, it could have won an Oscar or something. They're like, yo, this right here. It's like you said, this has been the most to talk about of the movie. Like, yo, you get the Oscar for that scene right there.
I don't think the world is ready for that.
No one should be ready for that.
Wait, hold on.
No.
Yeah, that would have been too much. Way too much. but one thing I did mention, and I had mentioned this to Dana. They had that scene at the end where Mike told Bill, "I love you, man." So I guess that makes up for the fact that they didn't have the orgy, so they had to emphasize, oh yeah, we love each other. We're losers, but we love each other. So I guess that's what that was all about.
Oh dear. They were connected in the first movie a little bit. Sweet and endearing. And sad.
I guess I'm okay with that then. It's sweet and endearing.
It was endearing.
Did it bring a tear to your eye, Dana?
It was a little tear in my eye. And it had a nice little.
I will say this. There a lot of people had emotions for the Bill Hader character. And the way that he played that role, that definitely got people. I mean, ain't no doubt about it. Regarding the change to that character, I'm also glad where the character didn't actually have to reveal the secret that we all knew, because it was pretty obvious with the way that everything else was, where he didn't have to come out and say, "Oh, this is what I know about myself now." He didn't have to say that. It just but by how his actions pretty much showed you. So I was fine with how they did that. But yeah, that definitely was the best character that they handled in terms of the story. In my personal opinion.
I agree. good. It was overall good. It was like a letdown though, but it was good.
So there's one other question I want to ask you both. Did this movie make you both want to see Doctor Sleep?
See, here's the thing. I've never fully engrossed myself in The Shining. So I would have to actually sit down and watch that book and then also read the book to Doctor Sleep. Explain it. I'm intrigued, but I would not go out of my way to see Doctor Sleep first. I just wouldn't. Like, I'll get around to it. I'm not going to run to the theater and be like, oh my God, I have to go.
Oh, yeah. I totally understand that. Yeah, I just asked because that was one of the trailers they showed. When I saw the movie, I was like, yeah, I definitely want to see it. I do like the new trailer, but I obviously need to catch up on the source material before I go see it. So we'll see.
Seen it.
I would like to see a Cujo remake.
Oh, we got that with Pet Sematary. So we don't need no more animals from Stephen King.
We good?
We good.
I just want to say this. That Pet Sematary movie, that was wow. That ending, if you ever had any hope for any of the characters, you had absolutely zero hope for anybody at the end of that movie, and you feel sorry for the little baby who, obviously is the next victim. So that was tough to watch at that ending. So
I was entertained. I thought it was hilarious. You wasn't entertained by that?
It definitely was entertaining.
I need a sequel. I want to know what happens after they leave the house.
Oh, well. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but hey,
You said no.
they did have Pet Sematary too, so maybe it's like
You said no. I thought it was really good. But we have Doctor Sleep, so I'm to it. I know it releases this year, which is way too early if you ask me. Yeah. At least you enjoyed the movie. At least you guys enjoyed it. It wasn't a complete waste.
Yeah, it wasn't a complete waste. I enjoyed it. I mean, it could have been worse.
It could have been 4 hours.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah, I'm certainly glad that it made all the money at the box office. That's excellent. I'm just not prepared to say this is one of the best horror films that I saw this year. I cannot say that. But, it was entertaining, so that they got me there. And there's a lot of laughs too. So yeah.
So would you have a best one so far?
Off the top of my head, I don't know if I can answer that question. I have to go back and review some of the films that I did see this year. I do know I've seen a lot of bad horror movies this year, so it's definitely better than some of the bad movies I saw. But we'll see. I gotta think about that.
Well, we all know your love for Child's Play.
Oh no! I definitely a fan of the original, but I don't know about this reboot. I don't know about that one.
Come on now. Dana told me that was your movie of the year.
Was him, that, and us? Oh my gosh, he cried.
Wait, hold on.
Unhappy.
I'm not sure about that. Us was interesting.
Us was awful.
This is not the best scary movie so far this year. It's hard for me to really. I have to really think about that. It's not us though. It's not us, and it's not Pet Sematary. It's not Child's Play. And it's definitely not It Chapter 2.
So,
We'll see. I gotta think about that.
It's the curse of La Lorena.
Oh,
That's
hell
what it
no.
is.
Oh, hell no. Definitely not that.
It's okay.
But I will say this. This isn't the best, but I will say I did enjoy it.
Hellboy?
Annabelle Comes Home.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some things about that I thought, okay, this is interesting. I like when they have a horror movie, but it's like a time period, like it's during a particular time in history. That makes it a little interesting, but it's still not the best movie, the best horror movie I've seen this year. That I'll have to figure out the next time we record a show.
It wasn't Scary Stories?
Scary Stories.
It would have been Scary Stories for me if they included the yellow ribbon.
Yeah.
Didn't include that, and that broke my heart. That was that one story that carried me all the way through adulthood.
Dude, I read all the Scary Stories when I was like going through high school and shit. That stuff was good.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was pretty good. But I gotta go back. I gotta look through the list of all the movies that came out this year.
Yeah. You gotta look, because remember there was Happy Death Day to You. There was Ma.
Oh yeah.
Was Hellboy your favorite?
Oh no, that's Tony Swanko's favorite.
You're funny. Then it was Brightburn.
That's not really a horror movie, though, was it?
Yeah, Brightburn was horror. That kid was horror.
I wouldn't say it was a horror movie.
Was it not a horror movie? I'm killing everyone. How is that not horror?
I mean, I also heard, through the grapevine that Rich also liked, Jeepers Creepers 2.
Now, I'm not sure who you heard that from, but
no, not Jeepers Creepers 2. It was part 3. Do you like?
Franchise is still going. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm not sure who told you that information, but they need to check their facts.
It's a fake news. That's funny. So, guys, so that is basically what we have for this week. We saw interesting movies, TV shows, one movie. And once again, thank you for joining us. Words.
Yes, thanks for having me on. Thanks also to Big Mike for joining us. And any final shout outs?
No, thank you for having me on, Dana and Rich. Shout out to checking out the Platform Podcast on Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, at youtube.com/The Platform Live. Subscribe and hit the notification button.
Of you, Mr. Bailey, any shout outs?
Oh, just thanks for having me on the show. Shout outs to you and Mike. And just want to tell everybody to make sure they check out our next show, which is going to be WrestleCast later this week if you're into wrestling. And if you still want to get some entertainment, TV show type of stuff, I know Gary and I just recorded PowerCast yesterday. For those of you that watch Power, easily one of the worst TV shows on TV right now. But you didn't hear that. You didn't hear that from me.
And there's 50 more coming.
I'll just say one of the most convoluted TV shows. But I will say this: if you are not watching Snowfall, you need to really watch that show because it is so much better than Power. It's not funny.
Oh dear.
Yeah. But that's it. That's all I gotta say for right now.
That's good. All right, thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next time, America.